where did Godzilla derive from?
Nuclear.
Yeah, the nuclear tests. I mean, that's not natural to explode a nuclear bomb in the ocean, man. That's
Yeah.
So what's going on?
Nothing much. Just was running some errands. Had to go down to the pharmacy and buy myself some more allergy medicine and all of that. Just buying a few things. And got back here. And laundry in my bag a little bit.
That's amazing how many American products you can buy in Europe.
Yeah, this is the only American. It's not really American because Claritin is from Bayer, which is a German company.
Oh,
But
all right.
we always think of it as American, but it's the only brand allergy medicine. It's this one, and then there's a nasal spray.
Oh,
But that's it. Yeah, and it's different here going to the pharmacy because there's no over-the-counter sections in grocery stores. And then you actually have to go to a pharmacy, and usually the only things that are kind of available to just grab is things like sunscreen, skincare, those basic things. Everything else you have to go up to the counter, even for something like allergy medicine. So yeah, can you get me this or that? Yeah. So it's an extra step or two, which is why I said go first thing in the morning, avoid the lines, because I do take the trip down into the tourist areas where I know that they're going to speak both Portuguese and English. So yeah, but I get the 20 pack. Necessary. And all the flowers are in bloom.
yeah. I just switched the calendar. I get the calendar from the World Wildlife Fund because I pay that every month, and they send me the calendar every year.
Yeah.
And I switched to June. And what's the picture for June?
The bumblebee.
A bee, yeah. It's not a bumblebee, but it's a bee.
My friend, my best friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they make the world colorful. I'll give them that. But they make me sneeze too.
Well, we know how important bees are to the environment.
Oh yeah.
They're an essential element. We were talking about that because there was a concern about the bee population.
Yep. Yeah. If you don't have bees, you don't have, like Ghost said, if you have ghosts, you have everything. If you don't have bees, you have nothing.
Yeah.
So it's the opposite end of the spectrum. Yeah, pollination is a fundamental part to the natural order.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You start tinkering with that's the unfortunate thing about humankind is we've always historically tried to
manipulate
the environment to suit our needs instead of working with the environment. And that's going to be our downfall in the end. We've got to learn not just a certain portion of humanity, but all humanity. We got to learn that if our species, and not just our species, but all life on Earth, if it's going to survive, we have to, no matter how far we advance with technology, unless you want to live in outer space permanently on like make like a Death Star, like whatever, like something like that, right? But if you want to live on a planet with fresh water and nature, yeah, we got to learn that we got to not manipulate nature, but what's the
Be
word?
more in sync with it,
Yeah,
synchronized with it, just cohabitation, pretty much.
yeah, a collaboration with nature. Exactly. Like I think that's what they're trying to do, like in Singapore, because you see that dual aspect. I think
Yeah.
I ain't been there, but that's one of the key.
policy.
Yeah, one of the concepts is to build up and to have do as very little urban sprawl as possible,
Yeah.
because that's one of the big issues is urban sprawl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I forget the exact policy where pretty much for every bit of urban construction, there needs to be a green space equivalent, which is why a lot of the buildings have like green plants on the side of buildings and all of that. Yeah. And then, like you said, if you build up, you're not building out, so it takes up less space. You can be more efficient with space because Singapore isn't a lot of land, even though they have some projects to reclaim a little bit of the land and the shorelines. You can still only do so much of that going out. Even the Netherlands have done some of that, but still, the Netherlands is a relatively small country. It's not the size, even Germany. Right.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, we've kind of already done that though, historically though. It's interesting because we've built skyscrapers, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you look at all the major cities throughout the world, they have skyscrapers, tall buildings, and that's kind of like the idea. But so how is it? We've kind of got that idea, but we still have urban sprawl. I mean, but then again, you look back historically, a couple of centuries ago, people weren't so much concerned, about the environment. You look at London, England. Remember, the soot was so bad in London from the factories. You would literally be dark outside in the middle of the day from the soot that would be so bad from the smoke from the factories. That was a huge issue in London.
Oh yeah, there was. I remember that example that they gave us with the Industrial Revolution and how it can change nature. Was the moths, where you would get black moths in London because they had to adapt. The color of moth is often used for camouflage. And so, yeah, when you have all this soot and smog, that everything is darker, then the darker moths, they survive. So, yeah, it all impacts the ecosystem for people, for animals, the quality of life, because obviously it's not good to be breathing all that stuff in.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Very important.
But that's what they discovered in London. Just no different than we discovered here when, as far as agriculture, the farming and in the Dust Bowl and so on. We've learned historically. Those are a couple of great examples right there about what happens when we mess with Mother Nature, when we're not taking in consideration the repercussions of manipulating nature instead of working with what nature alongside with nature. And that's the crazy thing about all the anti-climate change, the climate change deniers. I mean, like I said, unless they're denying history altogether, and I guess to a degree that maybe they don't think all this stuff. Maybe they think it was all made up, the Dust Bowl and whatever else. And but holy cow, nature. Just how did Blue Oyster Cult put it in Godzilla?
Time and time, again, nature shows the folly of man.
Yeah, nature. Yeah. If there's any song that should be more about climate awareness, should be Godzilla by Blue Oyster Cult, because that song is so true. Bring up the all the lyrics for that song. because it's so interesting when it comes to the environment, because in a lot of ways, that's what Godzilla stands for. And in fact, in several of the Godzilla films that we've watched, they've dealt with that issue as far as the environment.
History shows again and again how nature points out the quality of man. Yeah.
And then what else?
That's the thing, is this is giving me like some Japanese and English mix. This is like some variation. So hold on. No, I guess that was really the only part that line that really said that, because the rest of it is just describing Godzilla. He picks up the bus and throws it back down.
Yeah.
As he went through the buildings towards the center of town.
Yeah. But Godzilla, I mean, as we know, where did Godzilla derive from?
Nuclear.
Yeah. Nuclear tests. I mean, that's not natural to explode a nuclear bomb in the ocean, man. That's
I mean, there are places where nuclear explosions happen in the universe.
Yeah. But not
it's a natural part. Yeah. Not repeatedly.
Not on a planet. Yeah, not on a green planet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you have nuclear explosions on a planet, I don't think it's going to be around. I mean, it's bad enough when you have a massive volcano explosion.
Oh yeah, like they just had in Italy last week or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, what was the volcano that happened? I don't know, thousands of years. What was how do you pronounce it? Krakatoa?
It was, when was that exactly? It wasn't that long. It was some century, 1883.
Oh, was that really? I thought it was further back than that. But what was the impact of that?
Oh, it was big.
Well, they still ain't got there yet, huh?
No, they haven't. Yeah, because I always remember that, whereas kind of one of the first widely recorded, or they were able to, I forget the exact story, they were able to reverse engineer kind of the exact size of the sound of the explosion. The explosion was heard 3,100 kilometers away, or 1,900 miles in Perth, in Australia. The acoustic pressure waves circled the globe more than 3 times, or at least 36,000 deaths. Significant additional effects were felt worldwide in the days after. Then there was seismic activity reported until February of 1884. So, global climate caused a volcanic winter, and the year following the eruption, average northern hemisphere summer temperatures fell by 0.4 degrees Celsius, 0.72 Fahrenheit. Record rainfall that hit Southern California during the water year from 1883 to 1884. LA received 38 inches, and San Diego 26 inches, has been attributed to the Krakatoa eruption. So it was changing things around.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a volcanic explosion, man.
Also darkening the sky worldwide.
Yeah. Now we got a hydrogen bomb. What's the one that Russia's got? The Satan 2 or whatever they call it?
I think there's one even bigger than that now. This is the largest deployed. Well, as a fun fact, the largest ever deployed was the Tsar bomb, most powerful nuclear bomb tested in the largest human-made explosion in history. For comparison, the largest weapon ever produced by the U.S., the now decommissioned B-41, had a predicted maximum yield of, I don't know these units. It kind of just jumps to it, doesn't even explain what is an MP. Megatons?
Yeah, from Star Trek.
Yeah.
How many megatons?
Megatons. Yeah, okay. Now I understand. So the blast yield of this bomb was the equivalent to 50 to 58 megatons of TNT.
Yeah.
So that's a lot. And I think that's what it was saying before is, for for comparison, the largest weapon ever produced by the U.S., the decommissioned B-41, had a predicted maximum yield of 25 megatons. So it was twice the yield of the B-41. And the largest ever tested by the U.S., the Castle Bravo, yielded only 15.
Yeah.
So almost 4 times.
Either way, the only question you ask is why.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, at some point, this is like the deadly version of, at what point do you really, with money, what do you really notice the difference between 10 and $20 billion?
Yeah.
Or something. If somebody dropped that money right in front of you, it's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's humankind, man. No matter what, whether it comes to war, which is it's stupid. War is so. I got to thinking about that the other day about Native Americans, different tribes. How you had more peaceful tribes, right? That just try to get along with people like I believe like the Cheyenne Indians and so on. And then you had war tribes or war cultures, kind of like we were talking about the Spartans, right? In Greece, they were a war culture. The Native Americans here, they had the same thing, like the Blackfoot. I mean, that's what they were all about, right? It was creating conflict, war, whatever, to prove whatever, their ceremonies. But at some point, you got to grow out of that, man.
You would think, yeah.
Because killing people, when you see it goes back to that fundamental rule. If you're a human being, you shouldn't tolerate suffering. When you're killing family members and so on and so forth, man, that should be so disheartening to you as a human being.
Yeah, beyond the normal rationale. Yeah.
Yeah. Like we were talking about sacrifices at the Aztecs. I mean, how it just shows you from anthropology standpoint, we always talk about advanced cultures, how you shouldn't use primitive culture in your language, right? Because how do you determine what's primitive and what's advanced? And but I don't know. What term I like to use a lot is barbaric. That's the difference between, if you're going to use a contrast two phrases, civilized and barbaric. A civilized culture, and people will probably debate, because people will debate anything, but a civilized culture to me would be a culture where, starting with the people's lives and are protected, they have certain rights, and so on. That would be a civilized society. A barbaric society would be everything opposite. It's lawlessness, right?
Yeah.
And you can almost like, because we always talk about the Wild Wild West, right? How they say the lawless West. A lot of ways you could define that as barbaric, I think. When people if everybody's just walking around with guns, right? And you got one marshal the size of, what movie did we watch with that? That was Clint Eastwood. That was Hang 'em High. Remember, he talked about early in the film, he told him that the one judge, right? He said he had like one or two marshals that governed the whole area of like Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a large area to cover if you only got a handful of marshals.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of people walking around with guns and like in Hang 'em High, when they thought Clint Eastwood was the guy that stole, I guess, their cattle or their horses or whatever. And so they hung him high, right? Without a judge, without a jury, and wrongfully so.
Yeah.
And of course, as we know later on in the film, anybody who's seen the film knows that Clint Eastwood, he survives, and then he becomes, I guess supposedly he was a marshal or whatever.
Something. It's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he gave it up, and then he told the judge, and the judge gave him a badge to be and he went out to round up the people that hanged him. But that's that movie's really reflected the difference between what's civilized and what's uncivilized, man. Because we talked many times before about street justice, and at times it seems like, yeah, I mean, if going back to another Clint Eastwood movie that we watch is Dirty Harry, right? That concept is brought up in that, well, not just that film, but several of the films about Harry's tactics. And that's one of the things, that was one of the knocks against Harry throughout the films. You haven't seen all the films yet, but that's one of the main knocks against Dirty Harry is his tactics, right? They said if you don't operate with the law, then, and that's what he says in the movie that you did see in Magnum Force. He says if we don't work within the boundaries of the law, then you got people that are going to start shooting you for anything.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen that historically. We saw that one of the notable cases, well, two notable cases that I remember was the one in Florida where the parking incident. Remember where the one lady parked in her hut, and one guy got out of his car and would start yelling at the lady, and then the husband, I guess, came over there and pushed the guy down. He had a gun, and he shot him right there. And they were arguing over a parking spot. And supposedly, that's how crazy the law can be. And this goes to Dirty Harry's point, right? Because supposedly, I don't know if that guy ever got sentenced, because according to Florida law, he could do that.
Yeah, with stand your ground laws or self-defense laws, one of those categories. Yeah, if he felt threat, then he had the legal right to stand his ground. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Over a parking, and like I said, this is where common sense would prevail.
Yeah. That
you don't shoot somebody. First of all, arguing or parking, or even for just pushing you down. If somebody pushes you down, it's not. I don't think his intent was to threaten his life. He was just pushing away. The guy fell over. So
right, exactly.
But go ahead.
In the course of legal proceedings, especially if the guy didn't further advance towards him, because stood there or something, it gets into all of those nuances with those cases.
But that's why, like I said, you people carrying around guns. And I always talk about the film 1984, because people always bring up the idea of, okay, well, let's just arm the teachers. And if anybody ever sees the film 1984 or the class of 1984, they'll see why that isn't a good idea. Because if a teacher gets angry at a student, who's to stop him from pulling the gun and pointing it at the student? So, yeah, but to me, that would be going back to the Wild Wild West and lawlessness, where everybody's just carrying around a gun. If a marshal isn't around, I guess supposedly that gave you the right to carry out the law yourself. I mean, you would think, because everybody's walking around with a gun, right? It must be for that reason. I mean, if a pistol isn't made for hunting.
I mean, you're not taking out a bear from a distance of 200 meters with or something. Yeah.
So
or deer.
yeah, that's why only like we're talking about in a civilized society, the only people that would be armed would be law enforcement, and you would try to build a society where people, well, like I said, if people would have been respectful, like in the Florida incident, if they just would have been respectful to each other in the first place, that wouldn't have happened.
Wouldn't have had a problem.
Yeah. If the guy would have walked up and said, "Excuse me, ma'am, that's my park place, my move," she goes, if she would have responded back, say, "No, I'm not going to move her," and he says, all right, I'll just go be like Donkey. So I'll go find me another parking spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because is it worth it? Is it worth it getting in a fight or argument about in the end?
Yeah. Because I get it. I'm always, I usually say that where there is a principle to stand by, but at the same time, we do have to pick our battles.
Yeah.
None of us can go every single point of conflict and it just try to take everybody on. As even like here, this is a equally minor example that some people have gotten in fights about is with the metro. Two things: either you're supposed to, when the metro car comes, the doors open, everybody that's waiting for the train is supposed to let everybody get off the train. So then everybody can get on. But you have those people that stand right in front of the doors instead of getting out of the way to let people get off. And so when it's busy, you do have some people that kind of give a bit of the shoulder, the elbows of those people standing right in the middle. Now, or when you're waiting in line to tap out of the gates, get out of the metro, you do have those people that cut the line because they don't want to wait for 50 people. And yeah, technically, people should just be respectful, wait in line. Yeah, it sucks, but everybody else is waiting. Wait your turn. I could grab the guy by the back of the collar as I get back and start the conflict, but is that really the way that person's behavior is going to change? Probably not. So that's where it comes to picking the battles, even though he should wait in the line with everybody else. Something like that.
Yeah. I remember when in the military, and we talked about that before, is with terrorist training. And if you're ever confronted in a terrorist situation, well, one of the important things to try to do is make yourself human to the terrorists, because initially all you are is a target, right? Yep. They don't know you, they don't know your name or anything like that, and it's a world of difference when somebody.
Oh yeah,
it makes all the difference in the world. And so they try to teach you, try to make yourself human. Let them know your name, maybe not your full name or whatever, but just let them know your name. Do what they tell you, but just make yourself human to them, because that's going to make them less likely to kill you or whatever else. So
yeah,
not that it always works, but it's worth the effort. But I think the same thing applies just in general life. And one of the big issues a lot of people have is road rage, and I'm guilty of that myself. I mean, somebody cuts you off, almost takes you out, and it's easy to fly off the handle and go chase them down and yeah, and there's so many accounts where that's gone really wrong.
Yeah,
with road rage, and I had to teach myself that, and I still do to this day. I have to remind myself, just let it go. Just let it go. It's not worth it. Maybe they're having a bad day, or something just happened, things I don't know about. Because I was telling Hope, she was we were driving in the car, and she was talking, well, I'm not going to let somebody just cut me off or whatever she was saying. And I said, well, something's always isn't what it appears. And I've talked to you about that with that one lady that was zooming down the highway. She was going like 100 miles an hour in a SUV or whatever it was, and she was just zooming in between traffic, and the cops were trying to chase her down. And finally, they stopped the SUV. And of course, being a police officer, when you're seeing all these people's lives in jeopardy, including your own, you're going to be really upset. So they all jump out of the car and they surround the vehicle and they have their guns pulled and everything. And they're yelling, they say, get out of the car, right? And there's this middle-aged lady in there, just a middle-aged lady, and she gets out of the car and she is in tears, crying, massively crying. And for the second the cops are stalling, they go, well, what's going on? And she's just freaking out. She goes, in tears, she goes, I couldn't stop my car. She goes, she put it in cruise control and it didn't unlock. It accelerated. And she couldn't get it out of cruise control or stop it. She kept trying to hit her brakes. It wouldn't stop. And she was just freaking out. It had nothing to do with her. So all of a sudden, these cops, when they realize that, they go, holy cow, this is totally a different situation than what they thought. So, yeah, so sometimes you think, oh, these idiots or whatever, but don't always think, because not everything is as it appears. And sometimes you have to really remind yourself, yeah, there's a lot of jerks out there, but sometimes it's something that you're not aware of. So you always, particularly when driving, you have to remind yourself that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, sure. Sometimes it's obvious where you can see the person in the next car smoking a cigarette, singing to the music, and they're just swerving through people just for the fun of it. I mean, in that case, that's just a stupid person doing the stupid thing. But yeah, there are those, I would say the vast majority of situations where you just have to keep things reasonably open to different possibilities beyond just, oh, it's a stupid person doing a stupid thing. Either way, this is where there's a personal diligence where we have to be careful in how we avoid in that case, just not getting hit by that car. But yeah, there's the vigilance that goes with it.
Yeah, that's the important thing. Like I always say, arrive alive. That's the important thing. And regardless of the situation, it's just back off, just let it go. And because it could be something. That's one thing that helps me in those situations, is to remind myself it may not be as it appears and everything. I just let it go. And reminds me of On the Waterfront, when he talks about ambition. He goes, I always thought I'd live a little bit longer without it. The principle being, I mean, I think you'll live a lot longer in life, and a lot more happier life, if you have the ability to let things go. You might have to wait a little bit longer. You might take a little bit longer to get home or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's worth it, man, because you never know what could happen in any given situation, man. But like I always try to emphasize, life is a gamble, but if you play it with the better odds, your chances are you're going to live a long and fulfilling life, man. As long as there's no guarantees, but you can certainly better your odds, and that's what you want to achieve, man. So we definitely don't want a barbaric society, man, where everybody just does. We're talking about like what people do on the road. We have the laws, we have rules to abide by, and I mean that keeps everybody safe. That's the whole idea. If the speed limit is 75, everybody, like I said, to be safe, everybody go about the same speed, and most people go 5 to 10 miles over. Okay, but if you're going 100 miles an hour and you're going way beyond faster or slower than anybody else, that's where you're putting everybody's life out, everybody other's life in danger. So yeah, and just trying to get that through to people, man. And everybody knows the right thing to do. That's the thing. So that's where the term stupidity definitely applies. When you're not observing what is the law, and you try to disregard it, then
it's a stupid thing to do.
And there might be some situation. Go back to like Dirty Harry. There might be a situation where you gotta. In the first Dirty Harry, man, when he basically tortured the guy, tell him where the girl was, but he said, like Dirty Harry was saying, the girl was dying. He didn't know where she was, and they told Dirty Harry that she was already dead, and he goes, "Well, I didn't know that."
Yeah,
but
you have to make judgment call.
Yeah, it's.
But I think it's safe to say that those instances where we do break the rules, those should be the exceptions to the norm.
Yeah.
That's where judgment comes in. We have to build our judgment skills, or else, we could be putting ourselves or others in unnecessary harm.
Yeah. We learned that from Harry Potter, right? With the rat, right? When Harry first confronts Sirius Black and who was the other professor? The werewolf guy?
Lupus.
Yeah, Lupus.
Lupus is a disease.
Oh, lupus. Okay, all right.
Lupin. Yeah.
Yeah, and the rat was I don't know what the one character, but Ron, he was so protective of his rat, right? And they were trying to zap the rat, and then
get rid of it.
Yeah, and finally they revealed who the rat really was.
Mm-hmm.
That was such an important scene in the Harry Potter films, because if they would have, I don't know what the character's name was.
Wormtail.
Yeah, but if they would have killed him, Voldemort would have never came back, because he was the one who cut off his hand, threw it in the pot,
got the whole performed the whole ritual.
Yeah,
because it was like Voldemort said right after he came back. Wormtail said, I was the one that listened to the signals. I was the one that followed you. And Voldemort said, only because you were afraid.
Yeah.
So he was the only one that was acting on reviving Voldemort. You know?
But if Sirius would have took him out like he wanted to, then they could have prevented possibly the whole conflict that happened between the wizards, the upcoming conflict. That's a really good question right there. People would say, well, you don't go to that level. You're not like them, because they I have no doubt, like we've seen with the one crazy chick who killed Sirius.
Bellatrix.
Yeah. She had no problem taking out Sirius Black. She didn't think twice about it.
Yeah, she just.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was good.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, you think that, okay, that's kind of like the I don't know what the right term would be, the paradox or whatever of that scenario is. Because what were they? Who was it in that scene that made him think otherwise about killing? I forgot exactly how the scene went. Yeah, because they were trying to kill the rat, and then what was it that
was it Sirius and Harry eventually got one of their wands, and somebody's wand, and he kind of he thought Sirius was the killer because Sirius kept saying kill the rat, and Harry still thought that Sirius was there to kill Harry.
Yeah.
And then he also, because in that moment he thought that Sirius and Lupus I keep saying it.
Yeah.
I keep saying it.
Yeah.
Just the general conception of the disease. He thought that they were on the same side, that he betrayed Harry. And then Snape showed up.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole thing was just chaotic. Everybody was like, it was like in a Western film, everybody's pointing a gun at each other.
All right.
Waiting for somebody. Yeah. It was just one thing added on to the next.
But somewhere along the line, I think it was Harry that said, no, don't do that or whatever. Mm-hmm. And they end up taking.
Not until he understood everything.
Yeah. So, but it's such a pivotal point in the film. What happened at that scene ultimately allowed for Voldemort's return and the death of a lot of other people. So, if you look throughout history, I'm sure there's been many circumstances like that where somebody thought, well, I'm going to take the higher ground. I'm not going to go at their level. And it's a tough call when you're talking about a civilized society, right? You say we're going to be civilized. We're taking the higher road, and but holy cow, you think sometimes with the term we've always used, a necessary evil, and there's no better example of that than World War II and the use of the atomic bomb.
Mm-hmm.
We dropped two bombs on Japan. Some people question whether it was necessary to drop the second one, but it shortened the war. It killed probably about 250,000 people between those two bombs, and but they said it saved millions and millions of lives because we dropped the bomb. So.
Yeah.
It's all on how you look at it. Yeah. So if you were Sirius, right, and you saw the rat, I mean, I don't know, man. From my standpoint, I would have took him out.
This is right there.
Yeah.
Sirius was because in that moment, Sirius was also an outcast from society. It's not like the guy had anything left to lose.
Yeah.
Really. I mean. Yeah.
I mean, if you're a student of history, that there's this pivotal character, and sometimes you don't know. Sometimes you don't know. Things just are happening. But in this situation, they knew.
Yep.
And like I said, sometimes the needs of life outweigh the law, and. But once you start going down that path, and this is the whole idea behind the Prince, right? Is you start going too far down that rabbit hole, and then you're right back at barbaric society, man.
Yeah, and it's very easy to get there.
Yeah, so I guess that's the dilemma you're in. You know what I mean? Both in the Harry Potter films and the Dirty Harry films and so on, that's the constant dilemma you're in. You're trying to do the right thing, abide by rules and the laws, but you got the people that don't live by morals, they don't live by laws, they want to do what they want to do. And that goes right back to like in Frankenstein as well, because he didn't want to abide by the guardrails that were set in place, so bad things don't happen and stuff. And he achieved some great things, and that resulted in a lot of bad things. So
yeah, and that's the frustrating thing, is usually those people that don't follow rules because they have no real restraints, they can move faster than the people that do. And so then at some point, a lot of people say, well, I'm never going to catch them if I keep holding myself back with morals and rules and laws. That's the struggle right there.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Harry said to the one judge in the film. He goes, and the law is stupid. Oh, because they let the guy go. And because Harry violated his rights, and Harry goes, and in fact, Harry said that in the film. He goes, well, I'm all choked up about his rights. Remember?
Oh, no.
In the film, he said, and so they let him go, and Harry go, on what grounds? He goes, on these amendments and so on, and Harry goes, well, the law is stupid, and I get Harry's frustration, man, but at the same time, there's been that's one thing that I don't know. And I would have to think about if the Dirty Harry films really show the other side. Well, I guess Magnum Force does show the other side of the vigilante, right? About somebody that's just going to bypass the law and do what they want, because that team of cops, that's what they were doing. But as we saw in Magnum Force, he ended up shooting. What was it, a good cop or whatever? By accident.
Something.
He didn't mean to do it. Yeah, it was something like that. He shot somebody accidentally.
Yeah.
And there you go. I forgot who it was.
I've only seen it once. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he realized it. He realized, because before they were just shooting all the bad guys. But then he went up. There was some incident, and he ended up shooting. I'm almost certain it was another cop that he shot.
I'm pretty sure it was. I just don't remember if he killed the guy.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah, he killed a cop, and all of a sudden it changed, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden the like the cliche goes, the hunter became the hunted. And it was an interesting scene in Magnum Force when the three officers confronted Harry, man. Remember? Because they wanted him to join them. They said, man,
that fucking garage.
Yeah. They said, they said to him, we know your mentality, man. We know that you hate the way the law works. So come on and join us, and we'll take out all the bad guys. And Harry said, no.
Yeah.
He goes,
yeah,
I ain't about that.
He was upset that he was upset that they even thought that he would join.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in spite of everything with Harry, he said that was one of the great things about Magnum Force. He said, because until something better comes along, in the when they were driving with the other inspector or whoever the other guy was, he goes, well, until something better comes along, I'm going to try to work with the boundaries of the law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we've talked about that before, and I definitely agree with the principle is a flawed system is better than no system.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's just a crazy circumstance to think about if there was no laws where people could literally do anything they want. Where in the case of what we're talking about, driving down the road, somebody was getting late for work and there was no repercussions for anything. there's nothing to say that they couldn't just knock a car off the road that was driving a little too slow.
Yeah.
Or something. I mean, no. That's no way to have people operating within a society.
Right. And that's a sad thing, because a lot of the people that break the law are, well, like I said, there could be all kinds of circumstances, because nothing's that simple, but or disregard rules is because bad things usually haven't happened to them. Or maybe they're just angry at the world or whatever, because bad things did happen to them. I don't know, but like I said, when you get to that point where you're disregarding other people's safety for whatever reason, you're just not human, man. That's the thing.
Yeah,
you're no more than that's where you can use the term primitive.
Yeah, because it's not even to say that somebody would be animalistic, because we know that a lot of animals have social behaviors and family structures and all of that stuff. It is just it's a very barbaric, primitive way to see people in general.
Yeah. But it wouldn't even be, we wouldn't even put it at the level of the animal, though, because most animals only hunt what they need. Like starting with like the big cats, they're only going to take what they need. They're not going to go just on there. I think there's once in a while, there's some rogue animals that'll just kill for whatever. But most animals, they're going to just kill what they need or eat what they need and nothing more. I mean, the idea that somebody does something like that it's lower than the level of even a lot of animals.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
respect the rules, even if the rules may seem stupid. Everything. Yeah, and if you want to change the rules, try to do it through the established mechanisms.
Yeah, the proper channels.
Yeah. Are there times for revolution? Yeah. Sometimes there are. But let's use the steps before revolution first to try to make the positive changes we want. Yeah.
Yeah. When I think of that, I think of Benjamin Franklin.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was an ultimate politician, man, right? I mean, he had friends everywhere in Europe, and if I remember my history right about Benjamin Franklin, wasn't he? When it comes to the French,
he spent a lot of time.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I don't remember the exact specifics, but he did have connections.
Yeah, because the French helped us out a lot in the revolution, because they were.
Because they hated the English.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Franklin, he spent some time with the French to get
the ambassador. He was pretty much. He was the minister of France. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was an integral part of gaining French support for the Americans during the revolution.
Yeah. The minister thing was during the war. But he had connections that went back further. Yeah, a major figure in the development of positive Franco-American relations.
Yeah, the reason why I was bringing up Benjamin Franklin is because instead of we're talking about revolutions, instead of before we get to the fighting and the killing, see, that's the thing. And there's probably some other people I could think of. I mean, you get the right people to go in and sit down and talk with people, reasonable people, and you can use it. You can usually avoid a fight.
Oh yeah. Fighting takes a lot of energy, puts people at risk, and there's no guarantees that somebody will win. So there's a lot of reasons to avoid conflicts on both sides. It just takes the right people in the right places to communicate the message.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is what's the saying about Nixon?
Bad guy, effective president. Bad guy, effective president.
No. About China. It said only Nixon. Here, look it up. Let's quote.
Yeah, I know. It's bothering me where I can hear it. Something about the nuclear truth. Only Nixon can go to China.
Yeah, yeah. I think that was the quote.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which implies what did they say that implies?
For all of Nixon's flaws, he was a negotiator. There's a description that goes. It's a reference to his visit in 1972 when he met Mao. Its basic import is that Nixon's well-established reputation as an anti-communist hawk gave him political cover against domestic criticism for a move that might have been portrayed as conciliating the geopolitical rival. So pretty much he had the image that could shield him from criticism.
Right.
Yeah.
And it just takes the right person
mm-hmm.
to no matter who it is, there's always somebody's going to respect or listen to. Ultimately, it's just a matter of getting that right person to do it. Because, like you said, it's all about messaging.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. As much as we would like to think that, no matter the person, if they're just saying something that is, or presenting something that's effective, what's needed, just the correct thing to say, some people just don't like listening to some people.
Yeah.
That's just part of human nature. And so, yeah, maybe Nixon, he thought the same things as Eisenhower or something. Eisenhower just wasn't the guy for whatever reasons. Even if he did things the same as Nixon, he didn't have the same image because, he was a World War II general who fought against the communists. So, yeah. It is about image.
It just makes you wonder who could come along today to change the political landscape today. Who could be another charismatic political leader that could change the course of the political sphere right now. So, but we'll see. But anyways, like I said, I don't even know how we got talking about that.
I'm going to tell you exactly what we got talking about. Today's conversation brought to you by Clarendon.
Yeah. Oh, Clarendon.
It all started with this and it ended with Richard Nixon going to China.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the conversational butterfly effect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, from Clarendon to Nixon via Dirty Harry, primitive human reactions, and a whole lot of other things in between. Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, what's Clarendon, Harry Potter, Dirty Harry, and Nixon?
It's a good trivia question.
Yeah.
All have in common. How are they related? Yeah.
Yeah, everything's connected. We know that, man.
Oh, yeah.
One way or another, man.
Mm. Even what seems so obscure at first, you get talking about it, say, okay, it does fit into a bigger picture.
Yeah, I'm gonna put that theme song in this video in the opening scene. I'm gonna put what song you think I'll put?
What in connection to this topic?
Yeah.
I don't know.
One thing leads to another, man.
Oh, yeah. That's pretty on the nose.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I like it.
Yeah, but I definitely want to live in a civilized society, man.
Yeah. Me too. We've gone through enough with the barbarism. Go back to the caveman days.
Yeah, but people will debate. Well, what's a civilized society?
This is I'm giving flashbacks to my political theory classes because in order to answer that, you have to answer the question of what was the state of nature of man before society.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's why that one.
Big,
go ahead. What were you saying?
It's those big overarching questions that are sometimes very difficult to answer.
Yeah, the one class I was taking was utopia vice dystopia.
Mm-hmm.
What makes a utopia? Mm-hmm. And I got to thinking, I go, we've already had utopias. I mean, I go, the United States could be a utopia right now. Because all a utopia is, in my book, is a place where everybody can basically, I guess if you're going to just put it in a nutshell, is live in a civilized manner. That really would be a utopia if you're going to just put it at its simplest form, where you have your laws, everybody abides by them, and everybody has their individual rights, and they're protected. And yeah, I mean, if everybody buy it, I mean, you already have it. It's not something that, because everybody's different and everybody thinks differently, but we can function together because we all agree upon and observe the laws that are given by the government. And yeah, and you pretty much can go where you want to go, say what you want to say, and yeah.
That's a very basic definition for it, but it's something that is very important to strive for.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, is the basics of, no, you don't have society without that, obviously. But yeah, I mean, respect in one simple word. It's pretty much what you just described. I mean, is respect.
Our tolerance.
Tolerance. Yeah. Yeah. That's another way to say it too.
Yeah.
There's very few places that have that on a massive scale because there's still a lot of conflict in the world. You wouldn't have conflict if you had tolerance.
Yeah. So, we forgot that Godzilla was in that mix too.
Oh yes. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, Godzilla. He's the large scale metaphor for and Singapore. Singapore was there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, because we got talking about the environment and so
all of that. Even humans' relationship with nature and all of that. Yeah, we covered ground. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So we didn't talk about but this was a different topic because on what was it? Today's Friday, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So on Wednesday we talked about Ghost. And and then yesterday we talked about the debacling of the German national football team. And today we talked about Godzilla and Nixon. So
Did build off the Godzilla conversation. They made movies about Mothra in the 90s.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, because I was at I was at one of the electronics stores, the one that has the big vinyl section, and I was flipping through the sales section, and there was a vinyl. It was the soundtrack for I think it was called The Return of Mothra or something.
Oh, really?
And I said, really? Is that a thing? And I searched it, and yeah, it was released like 93 or something. So yeah, there's Mothra movies from the 90s. While G-Force was going around.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind Mothra. I just don't like the larva, man.
No. Yeah. I agree with that.
In one movie, remember, it was the two larvas that took Godzilla out.
Mhm. Yeah, I did wrong that was. There's so many. There's so many. That was one of the 70s ones. Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you could definitely handle the larva more than the giant spider one.
Yeah, no, that's messed up. No. Yeah, no thanks.
At some point, they were going to introduce a giant spider.
Oh, of course. That's just standard. That's standard procedure for those kinds of movies. At some point,
Yeah.
It's gonna be.
We were talking about spiders in monster movies. We never seen that. I don't know if they ever included that. The in the original King Kong film, remember they said they had a spider scene in it, but they
There was
took
a
it.
whole lot of things going on.
Yeah, but they took the scene out or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, because the audience from 1933 or something, it was a bit too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 33. It's 8 more years, and the original King Kong is up to 100 years old.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that was the thing I always remember when I was a kid about that King Kong film is the movie poster for it, where they show Godzilla. He's like, I mean, in the poster, he's like gigantic. I mean, he's like standing above the city, and that poster would scare me, man. It would freak me out.
Yeah.
I remember for one of my birthdays, I got a monster poster. It had cutouts of all the Frankenstein, Dracula, whatever, and I hang that up on my wall for a while before I was a Kiss fan.
Yeah.
And once I became Kiss, my walls were all covered with Kiss posters and that. So
yeah,
there was not an empty spot on my wall in my room. I had pictures everywhere. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that's a lot because I mean, like you said, a lot of those posters you would have gotten from like the magazines,
right,
or something like that, and those aren't the biggest. They're folded in, but it's still not huge. So yeah, that took some bit of collecting. Yeah,
yeah. Whenever, like I said, some of the magazines around at the time were circa 16 magazines, stuff like that. They had articles on Kiss, and they would always have pictures in there, and I would tear those out and hang those on the wall. Even when I went to school, because I had one of those binders with the clear front, and you can slip thing in the front, and I always put a picture of Kiss. Yeah.
yeah. Some action, some music action.
Yeah. For a few years,
I saw.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I saw random with Ghost. I was on their website, their merchandise. They have a big. I don't know exactly how big it is, but it's. I think the dimensions are pretty big. It was a neon sign of like their logo that you could put on the wall.
Oh, really?
I was like, interesting. Yeah, it's only available in the U.S. store though. I can't order it here. So I was like, that would be cool.
I guess the question is when we go see the concert, we're going to dress up.
No, we don't have anything.
Yeah. Go as a couple of nameless ghouls.
No. Yeah.
Are you
to it? Or...
Yeah. Or you can go as Papa. I can go as Cardinal Copia.
No. Yeah, we need to figure that out. Yeah. There's a lot of options because there's 5 generations, 6 generations, 5 Papas plus Copia. Yeah, so 6 generations of designs, costume designs.
Yeah, I thought the coolest masks that the Nameless Ghouls did were the metal-looking, the devil-looking ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the solid ones.
Yeah.
Just silver. Yeah. From 2, 3, Papa 2. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think you could actually buy the mask. There's probably some plastic thing, but I think you could actually buy them.
Yeah, got to see if I get a high quality one.
I remember watching the interview with Devo and the little red cone things they would wear. You could actually buy those. I think they sold them. Yeah.
Uh huh. Why not? Yeah.
But they were talking about in the interview that I don't know if it was the ones that they sold, but the cones that they wore on their heads had a on hats they have those plastic rim things in the inside to hold it still. Yeah, that's what they had that would hold the cone down. So it's not like it was just the cone. They actually had the plastic loop thing that would hold it down on their head and everything. And I wasn't sure. I think on the ones they sold, it didn't have that or whatever. I don't know.
That was the performance edition with the little extra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you were a diehard Devo fan, yeah, you would.
So we got to get that'd be an interesting conversation for another day to build a list of like the essential pieces of merchandise from rock music history.
Yeah.
Like what would be like 20 whatever, however many things. Like yeah, the Devo hat or the nameless ghoul mask or something. I've never thought about that before.
Well, there's no doubt that the number one band when it comes to merchandise by far is Kiss.
Oh yeah.
I can't think of any band as far as merchandise that even really comes close to Kiss as far as merchandise.
Yeah. So then the question would be, what would the essential piece of Kiss merchandise be?
Wow.
If you had to pick one.
If at the top of my head, I would say the pinball machine.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was expecting you to say, I just for a second I forgot that was even a thing. Pinball machine. But the action figures. No,
not the action figures, but I have one of them, thankfully to you. The comic book.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Holy cow! I still can't believe I actually have the original comic book. That's amazing, man. I think of all the Kiss items you've got me, that's the coolest so far.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you actually read through the whole thing yet?
No, I haven't. It's one of those things. It's one of those things I'm hesitant to because don't want anything to happen to it.
I know. Yeah. 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 I forgot because I got you that, I want to say 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
Something like that. 2-3 years ago now. That was a hunt to find one in good condition. And yeah, but that was cool. I was surprised when I got it that the colors were still as bright as they are. And that's a really good copy. And so yeah, now because yeah, I do need to see at some point if I can find that it is probably going to be near impossible just because of how they were produced, but the viewfinders, because the discoloring, but that's just kind of how those things go. But yeah, comments, I got you trading cards. You have the complete set of trading cards, the viewfinder. Yeah.
Yeah, and you got me all the Kissology discs.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was last year. Yeah, Christmas. Mm-hmm.
But the pinball machine would be the ultimate, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I think of the major Kiss memorabilia. Well, yeah, the major ones. Yeah, you don't have the pinball machine. And then, is there anything else that would be like that top tier of
Wow, I mean,
merchandise?
there's so many Kiss items. that they done. They did that from a lunchbox to Kiss Radio and just, but that's really the essential though. I think is the pinball machine. I'm sure there's other bands that have, like the Who. They were into merchandise. I'm sure there's memorabilia with the Who and other bands. But yeah, let's save that for another conversation, because that would be an interesting conversation there.
Yeah, that's something I just came up with. Yeah. About that. The pinball machine, somebody is selling it. It is still available for $9,000 or best offer on eBay.
Yeah, 9,000. Where are you going to put it?
Yeah, exactly. And to make it an even better deal, there's a $50 coupon on, so you get $50 off. Yeah.
All right.
So actually, right now it's only $8,945. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, first of all, that's something you're going to want to pick up yourself.
Oh yeah.
Where is it located? Yeah.
Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, you got to have a house, man. Put that in, man.
Yeah, I would. If I pretty good shoot.
Yeah. I'd be playing the pinball all the time, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I always want that if I ever get a house, which who knows if we ever will, whatever. But I want a game room with the pool table, the pinball machine, have some big screen TVs with Godzilla films playing on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.